Meal planning is an absolute game changer to help you save time, save money, and save your sanity, especially during busy weeks. It really doesn't matter if you run a busy household or if you're just a busy person, because to be honest, meal planning can help us all. So I've got my calendar, I've got my cup of tea. Let's look at the week ahead and how I do a really quick meal plan in about 5 minutes to get ready for the week ahead and to divvy up the cooking that is going to be happening in said week. Let's dive in. Now, there are views out there about meal planning. Some people go, but Amy, meal planning is really boring, or meal planning doesn't give me any variety, or meal prepping or meal planning takes a lot of time. And the reality is, yes, it takes a little bit of time, but this process I'm about to show you is actually pretty dang quick. I normally go through this on the weekend for the week ahead, and it takes me 5 to 10 minutes a week. Now, I meal plan for 2 adults in Australia, south part of Australia where I live near Melbourne. But the same principle is true for whomever you are cooking for. So one principle I wanted to share with you, especially if you like variety, is to follow my principle of 1 for now, 1 for later, freeze 1. This principle I've shared here on the channel many a time before, but just in case you're new, 1 for now means cook for yourself and your family or whomever you're cooking for today. 1 for later is something that you might not have tomorrow, but even the day after. So quite often we'll alternate days, and you'll see this in my meal plan today. We'll alternate days so that we're not having the same thing 2 days in a row. Then finally, freeze 1, number 3, meaning that you freeze a portion of soup, pasta, lasagna, whatever the thing is, and then you can come back to that in 2 to 3 months' time or sooner and have an easy meal on a night when you haven't made another plan. And that just means that you can build your freezer stock into your meal plan. You can get variety more often than not, and it doesn't have to be boring at all. Now, if I haven't convinced you yet on how much time this is going to save you throughout the week, let's have a quick look at my process and how I run through this. So first up, we've got my template. Now, I have a fancy, much nicer template that you can download down there in the description or in the first comment below this video. But I'm just using a scrap of paper today. And along one side, I've got my lunches. And on the other side, I've got my dinners. Now, we're going to fill this out together, so don't worry. But the very first thing that I do with my meal plan is that I look at my schedule. Now, my husband and I have a shared calendar in my phone. And this week ahead is a little bit non-social, which is actually kind of nice. So the only meal we're going to be having out, aka I don't have to cook it, or we don't have to cook it, is on Sunday. We are going to be eating lunch out on Sunday, which means that I don't need to plan for it. This is where I always start. And even if your family does, takeaway pizzas on a Friday or whatever that is, factor it into your plan, because that way that is fewer meals that you have to think about. Now, these things can naturally move around a little bit as well. Totally fine. Next up, we want to take a quick stock of our fridge, freezer, and pantry. Quite simple, especially your vegetable drawer or any stuff that's hanging out in your refrigerator is the first thing to check for. This week is a little bit different for me because our fridge and freezer were getting really empty. So I went and did a really big grocery haul yesterday and filled up both the freezer, fridge, and the pantry with a couple of things that we always keep on hand. So I didn't have a whole lot of things in my fridge that needed to be used up, but I know that there were a lot of vegetables and things in my freezer that have been in there for a while, and I don't want them to get bad freezer burn, so I wanted to use that up. And then the final thing I do before I actually make the plan itself is that I have the intention to share the load. My husband and I share the cooking in our household. I probably cook about 60% of the time. He cooks 40% of the time. He's an excellent cook, and there are many, many meals that I know that he likes to make and he's really good at. So I will factor that into my meal plan that I'm getting ready, and I will allocate his name to it. If you have teenage kids, if you have housemates, if you have a partner, you can share the load. Even if it's not every day, even if you still do the bulk of it, please involve the rest of your household to put healthy and yummy food on the table. So now that we've got that out of the way, let's get into the plan itself. So I need to get to 7 dinners. Again, you can download a free template down there below this video if you need something that looks prettier than this, but I'm happy to work with basic and scrap paper, that's fine. So I need 7 dinners, I need 6 lunches, and we're going to build this out based on what I know that I now have because I did a big grocery haul. So it's cold and miserable and rainy near Melbourne, Australia, where I live at the moment. If you're watching from the Northern Hemisphere with sunshine, please send some our way. We could really do with some down here. Anyway, so it's soup and stew season for me, and I have a lot of vegetables in my freezer that I need to use up. So I looked at the veg that I had and I thought to myself, maybe I'll do like a soup or a stew that's plant-based. So I'm going to do a lentil soup with a bunch of frozen vegetables and other things that I need to use up. Now, I'm going to make a big batch, so I'm going to make at least 6 portions, which means we're going to have one for dinner one day, one for dinner another day this week, and I'm going to freeze one portion each for my husband and myself. So all I then do is I go, okay, I think soup is going to work best on Monday and Wednesday. Let's say that. And that's basically all there is. So I've now added on Monday and on Wednesday, I've added veggie soup. Now I'm not accounting for the 2 that I'm going to freeze. That's just going to happen because I'm giving my future self a little pat on the back there. But I've also put an E for Emmy next to those because I'm going to be the one who's cooking up those couple of meals. So that's 2 dinners down. What else can we make? I have all the ingredients to make my fish curry. I use white basa fillets from Aldi. I always have frozen fish pretty much in my freezer. So we are going to do 2 dinners worth, and actually I'm going to do the same as I did with the soup. So we're going to do 2 portions worth that we're going to have this week. So 4 meals in total. And then I'm going to freeze 2 portions for another busy week ahead. So I'm going to just add fish curry. And I'm just gonna serve that with rice, I think. So I've added my fish curry to 2 of my days this week. So we've already got 4 dinners sorted, and I'm also putting 2 dinners worth in the freezer. So future me is already happy. So when I was at Aldi yesterday, I did pick up a roast chicken, and roast chicken is a favorite in this household. I cook it all the time. My husband cooks it all the time. It's very easy. We use a turbo or a convection oven, which gets it really nice and crispy. So we're going to do roast chicken with oven roasted vegetables, and I think I have a gravy packet or a gravy mix that I can use. So I'm just going to add roast chicken to 2 of my dinners. And for the final dinner that I need, because I'm now up to 6 dinners here in total. So on Saturday, and by the way, if you have good meal prep containers with, you know, airtight lids and stuff like that, things last just fine in the fridge for 2 to 3 days. So depending what you're cooking, of course, but most things are totally fine. So if you like variety and mixing it up, alternate the days that you have the thing. The final treat for us, the final dinner for this week, we're going to do pizzas. We quite often make this together, and it's usually like a weekend treat. And because my husband's gluten-free, what we tend to do is I buy these for a quick pizza-based solution. I normally do these Lebanese breads. I think I buy them at Coles or Woolworths. I can never remember which one. But whenever they're on special, I tend to buy this 4-pack. Throw them in the freezer, they defrost really easily, and we then cook them up on our Weber barbecue on a pizza stone. So I don't mind that the base is really thin. I have also done another video on a sweet potato based pizza base, which is gluten-free as well, which I will link up here for you as well as down below this video. That recipe is really nice. It's not my original recipe, but I found it and I was stoked. But that's a pizza that you make in the oven instead. So if you are gluten-free and you want to suss that out, I will link that down below for you. Now, the beauty of having a plan is that I have enough meals for the week, and I've also allocated them. The pizzas we'll definitely be making together, and I've allocated the other meals to be cooked on different times. So, but if I don't want to have roast chicken on Friday, if I want to have pizzas on Friday and swap the roast chicken to Saturday, that's totally fine. You just have to sense check with the person cooking the thing to make sure that they've got time and that they're going to be around to cook dinner that night. Alrighty Roo, we're halfway there with our meal plan for the week. By the way, I don't meal plan for breakfasts. We usually just take care of that ourselves. I am going to be making up some oat chia pudding. It's something that I do quite often when I feel like either having a snack or having a breakfast option, but it's basically just milk of your choice. Plant-based is fine. Quarter cup of chia seeds, some oats, and some kind of sweetener like a maple syrup or something. I am going to be cooking up a bunch of these meals, by the way, in the next video, so make sure that you subscribe so you can see me cook up all the things that I'm talking about right now. But I digress. Let's crack on with a meal plan for the rest of the week. So for lunches, I'm going to keep it really simple this week. We're not going to do a lot of variety. I'm going to do 2 different recipes for lunches, and we're going to have 1 lunch out because we've got friends visiting. So I'm just going to do pumpkin soup this week, and pumpkin soup is really good. I've made it here on the channel before in the Instant Pot. I will link that video up here as well as down below. But pumpkin soup is so simple. It's so tasty. My husband makes it. It's beautiful. It freezes really, really well. So the whole 1 for now, 1 for later freeze one, we're going to freeze some pumpkin soup. So 3 days this week, we are doing pumpkin soup with bread optional. For lunches. All right, so I put down 3 lunches worth of the pumpkin soup, and my husband is going to be cooking that one up, so I'm going to put a P next to his name. If you want to get really technical, you can put it on the day the person's going to cook the thing, but I don't know what day he's planning to cook it, so I'm just going to make him responsible for the pumpkin soup and he can work that out. And then we need 3 more lunches. And I used to make this recipe all the time, but it's a turkey meal prep bowl. Because when I was at Aldi yesterday, they had all this turkey mince on clearance. You've followed the channel, you know that I don't mind turkey or chicken mince instead of beef. It tends to be a lot cheaper. And obviously, you know, you do you, but it's also a very lean protein. So if you're looking for a less fatty option to beef mince, do consider turkey mince if you've never tried it. But it's basically got some corn. I know that I have some capsicum in the freezer, or bell peppers you call them in the States. So I have some of that I need to use up. I have onion. I definitely have turkey mince because I bought a bunch of it. And I need some rice. And I need some lime. Again, I'm going to cook this recipe up in the next video that you're going to see. So I'm going to add my turkey. Let's call them turkey bowls. I don't actually know what they're called in the recipe, but we're going to add turkey bowls to 3 lunches. And that is the plan for the week. It doesn't have to be more complicated than this. You can then take this piece of paper, or you can do it on a little whiteboard or whatever you have in your house or near your food station for the people that you feed or the people that eat in your household. But this is such a simple way of doing it. It does not take very long at all. You can also use apps, or if you have a digital thing in your family, but I just put this on the fridge and that's it. The only other thing I recommend is check with the people you've allocated to cook a meal to make sure they're actually available on that night, so they're not going to be out at sports or work or some other thing. Now, the final thing that I do for meal planning that I find really, really helps is to have one day where I do the bulk of my prepping. You don't have to cook everything that night, but for example, if you are going to cook an Instant Pot meal later in the week, you can get all the ingredients together. You could even put all those ingredients together in the freezer if it's towards the end of your week. Obviously check the dates on things. Like I know, for example, that my chicken will be perfectly fine come the weekend, so I can do my roast chicken any day towards the end of this week. I don't have to cook it at the start of the week. But I really like having what I call a prep day. And what I mean by that is making sure that you've got 1 to 2 hours available at some point where you can do a bunch of cooking at the same time. I showed you in my last video, which I will link up here if you haven't seen it, how I prepared over 25 servings of food in less than an hour and a half. And I'm going to do a similar thing in the next video where I'm going to be cooking up a bunch of these meals. When in doubt, when it comes to meal planning or anything else, I love the keep it simple principle. Honestly, you do not need to be a master chef. You do not need to have loads of recipes on hand, but you need to have a basic understanding of either recipes that you do like and mix them up and vary up the ingredients. Like I've got a basic soup recipe that you can borrow. It's linked down below in the description below this video. If you just click that little more button, you'll see all the text under there. And you can borrow that soup recipe if you like and just change the ingredients out. So for example, the veggie soup that I'm going to make this week, I have totally different ingredients on hand to what I normally have, and I normally don't use lentils instead of the beef, but hey, I'm going to try that and see how it turns out. You'll have to subscribe and check out the next video if you want to see that in action. But do get creative. Don't be afraid to try different things and use things up, because I cook new things based on recipes and kind of follow the recipe to sort of 80%. I do that all the time, and most often it turns out perfectly edible. I won't say that I will cook every single thing again, but I will come back to you with a verdict on this mysterious veggie soup in my next video as an example. Now, do let me know down there in the comments what you are cooking or prepping this week. If there are any good meal prep hacks that you have that you want to share with us here in the community. And I wanted to say thanks again to all the new subscribers and those of you who've been around for a long time. I appreciate all of you. Every single comment, like, and subscribe really, really helps my channel and helps me make more content like this for you all. So if you haven't already, make a meal plan for the week, give your future self that present. And if you need some inspiration, remember to do one for now, one for later, and phrase one. Your future self will thank you, I promise. All right, have a great rest of your week, and I'll see you in a few days in my next video.